wonderful day, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at The Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. And subscribe to us wherever you listen.
Give us that 5-star review. I say it every time. I know you want to do it. Get it done.
And as always, we taught judging in MMA. Head on over to abcboxing.com and read the scoring criteria.
So, Dan, we are without any live fights to break down. There was, of course, fights going on all weekend long. We decided to give ourselves the holiday weekend off with UFC not in action. So we're recording this early before all that action goes down. So if there is some sort of crazy robbery that happens somewhere in England or
only KSW, I think, is any of the so-called major promotions.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't even looked ahead because honestly, I gave myself the weekend off. So,
Nice.
We're less concerned with that this week. I'm sure there were fantastic fights, as there always are.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, Caposa can point you in the right direction to what was fantastic.
We got CFFC that happened on Friday.
That's true. That's true. I saw Dean Thomas was going to be commentating there.
That's cool. I mean, I'm gonna be there too. So,
Okay.
I mean, who's cooler to meet, me or Dean Thomas? I mean, I'll let you take your pick if you're gonna be there,
That's right. You did.
or if you were there.
You
actually.
did ask me to go, and I said no because I'm working, and didn't think I'd be able to get the day off.
It's kind of weird talking in the past sense when the future hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world, sir. But you know what? We can talk about that was in the past. And now, we're several days removed from it here, but as we record, this was very recent. Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour had CSAC head Andy Foster on his program, and I thought that was a very fascinating guest to have on.
Yeah, I thought that was a great guest. Ariel seems to be diving into this space a little bit.
Oh, I mean, he's gone all in with
Yeah.
with the officiating and judging, that kind of thing. But it is very specifically targeted toward this open scoring push that he's been very vocal about.
He's been on it, yeah.
And I don't know how long back it really goes, but he's definitely been very deep into it, very big into it for maybe a year-ish or something like that. Maybe it's less than that, maybe it's more, I'm not sure. But yeah, he's been beating the drum pretty loudly.
Yes, he has.
Now, obviously,
him and Sean Sheehan go back and forth quite a bit.
They are on total opposite ends of that. I at this point I've come around on open scoring. I know what it is. It's not a judging fix. It's by any stretch. I just see the value of it from a fighter. So it's really just a fighter friendly perspective that I see it as. Judging and all that entertainment value, that all comes secondary to the fact that the fighters, the ones who are trying to earn the living that way, I just feel like ought to know what it is. But it's not a clean cut thing. I certainly would admit it's not a clean cut thing. I feel like what you have is on both sides, you got kind of each side digging its heels in, right?
Yeah.
And I can see why, from one perspective, Ariel seems to truly believe this is what the sport needs. He's kind of all about it. Sean, for example, is extremely against it, and I don't think he'd probably want to dive in with kind of any sort of acknowledgments of like, yeah, maybe you can do this kind of too. He's very quick to, if there is something not going on that he doesn't like, he'd rather focus on that. And I can understand if he thinks it's going to ruin the sport, and he seems very convinced that it would. This is kind of fighting tooth and nail to defend that.
Yeah, I mean, I was for it 100%, and now I'm kind of coming off that a little bit.
So you've wavered.
But yeah,
you weren't originally on it. Now then you were, and now you're coming back.
I'm coming back towards middle. Like,
okay.
I don't know. I thought both sides against it make better points, I guess. Like Andy Foster made the point that the judges will find out how their colleagues are scoring the fight, and he knows they won't do it intentionally, but they may just balance it.
Yeah,
if they're completely on the minority side.
It's a tricky thing, right? You do have to mitigate that, and I think he brought up a good point. Andy did during his appearance on the MMA Hour, because he was saying basically, like, we've seen it in boxing, or he's seen it in boxing, where when they do have open scoring, they do try to balance out. If there's like close rounds, if they know that there's a chance maybe to, even subconsciously, not even
Right.
purposefully, that they will try to, maybe just change it so that they can get on the same page with scores like that. I guess I can understand that. Nobody wants to stand on their own if they can help it. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But you do have to, if you're going to do it, obviously you need to find a way to built-in protection for that kind of thing. So I would think it would involve some sort of, you can't put it on any sort of feed in the arena. You can't have the fans in the arena see it. It wouldn't work.
So what I saw on Twitter, Adam Rohrback tweeted that it's a requirement that each judge has a clean feed. There's no overlays of anything
Right.
on their personal feed
Yes.
at the table. So
yeah, and obviously that is primary, that is objective number one. That has to be the case. So you wouldn't put it on for anything that they saw, but that also includes, of course, anything that's in the arena, even just for the fans. Now, granted, part of that is because the judges, in theory, could look up at it. Although if you caught them looking up at the board when there was a time, if it was on camera, that would be a bad look. But the real reason I think you can't put it up anywhere in the arena for the fans in the arena is because once they do and they see it, they can react, and that can tell judges something too, maybe.
well, also
Potentially.
say, I mean, I know in Kansas you just see the judge, you don't see the name or whatever, but they can react, and the corner can be like, "Are you kidding me?"
Sure.
We lost that round, and then you're probably going to hear it. You're in close proximity.
It's true.
So, I mean, finding out that you're not on the right page, I think it's going to happen more often than it wouldn't.
Yeah, it's certainly tricky. I understand that.
I like it from the perspective that the fighter knows where they stand, but I also like the argument that the fighter should know what scores. They should know the criteria. They should know what judges are looking for.
Well,
So
it's not, I don't think it's on the fighter so much, because the fighter is in there trying to do one job. I think that realistically there ought to be, it's the corner
yeah,
that needs to more fairly evaluate it. The fighter who's in there, I mean, they'll probably know if they're losing, and they'll probably know if they're definitely winning. But then there's a lot of room in the middle where it's like, okay, I think I'm winning, but how much does that really feel like? I think we've seen a lot of fighters who were pretty convinced that they won a round, and realistically it was either close or maybe it didn't go their way or something like that. And I think it doesn't just come from overconfidence. It's just you feel like what you're doing is working,
mm-hmm.
and you don't feel like you're getting super hurt. So why shouldn't you win the round? But you need somebody who's on the outside looking at it in a little more, objective kind of way, as much as you can, being in someone's corner and providing that. I feel like every corner would benefit from having someone who's in the corner and all their job is to just kind of gauge where the fight is in terms of what happened in that round. Like
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Steal your thunder.
Yeah. No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you didn't steal no thunder. We're on the same page here.
All right, I like that. I do like that we're on the same page. I feel like that happens after we've known each other for so long. What was that? 11 years I've known you, I feel like. I think I came to training in 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Mm-hmm. I competed in Naga in 2012, and that was 8 months after I started.
Nice.
Yeah. And I won a 30-man tournament at that one.
Bam.
Don't look it up.
Yep.
I was second out of 14, actually. That I'm very proud of, and that is really true. With one finish. I had one finish. Guillotine. But yeah, we've known each other a long time. I feel like we're almost like an old married couple in a sense, right? Now go do the laundry. I think one of the things that really impressed me, not so much impressed, it's not really that, it's more just one of the things that I'm glad was brought up, and it actually started becoming a little bit of a topic and a talking point in and of itself during and after Andy's appearance, was the timidity rule, discussing the underutilization of penalizing timidity in mixed martial arts. And I think there's really something to it. Now, that's whether you have open scoring or not, whether you have, penalties or maybe more wide scoring ranges and that kind of thing. You need to start penalizing timidity, because like Andy's saying, the judges need something to score. And we've been seeing a lot more fights lately there where there's really nothing to score. And I don't think that's the case with, Holly Holm and Ketlin Vieira the other day. That round 3, especially the one that we're really talking about, things are happening in that round. There's stuff to evaluate. But, think back to like Logan Storley and Michael Venom Page, that was definitely a lot of like not a whole lot to score. Carla Esparza getting the win over Rose Namajunas the second time. Not a whole lot to score in a lot of those rounds.
Who do you penalize?
That is the real question, because like what are you going to do? You take a point from both women or both men?
And you're in the same spot.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything. So that's the real tricky part with that. My thinking is, and I think I voiced this to you already, this was something that I was having a conversation with somebody recently about this, and it kind of just spitballing ideas. It's not something I'm like, diving headfirst into, but no one likes the 10-8s as far as, officiating and stuff, right? Officials don't like 10-8s. Commissions don't like 10-8s, especially. You and I have come around to 10-8s are not necessarily there. You got to pick a winner, right?
10-10s, you mean?
10-10s. Excuse me. Yes, I'm misspeaking. This all is about 10-10s.
10-10s.
Thank you, sir. Because you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
10-10s are really, essentially, you're not supposed to have them. The commissions don't want them. But
basically there for partial rounds.
Yeah, exactly. In practice, and that's what we see. But my thinking is that maybe their purpose would be best to use, if you're going to use them at all, it should be for rounds like, let's say, Esparza Namajunas round 1, where neither woman does enough to take the round. Like no one comes out of that round and you sitting there watching and feel like, well, at least they got something done in there. They definitely did enough to take the round. No one deserved that round. Same thing with a couple of those rounds in Storley and Page, right? No one really deserved those rounds.
I can't stand that he likes when people are booing, because that means he's doing what he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That is so annoying.
See, that's the thing.
You should be DQ'd after that statement.
But that's the thing. If you have the rules the way they are and the way 10-10s are the way they are, then that's what we're looking at, right? That's a byproduct of that. The way you eliminate that, potentially, as I'm still kind of, again, sorting this idea out and kind of spitballing and wondering what people think of it, if you can say and define it, you'd have to define it in the criteria. It's not defined right now. You'd have to change that. It would have to be agreed upon. But if you can go into the criteria and say, look, if neither fighter does enough in a low output round to distance themselves and really deserve the round, the language will be shaped. This isn't what you'd write down, but more or less it should target that idea. You can use a 10-10 in those scenarios. I feel like it will still be exceptionally rare.
Yeah, I think it would still be pretty rare.
I think it'd be very rare, and I think its mere presence and application in the first few times would hopefully move away from anyone even needing it again anyway. But I think it would be a good deterrent.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at with it. I feel like it sounds like a good idea. I'm interested in more feedback on this idea that I've just kind of been spitballing. What's your reaction?
I like the idea. I think you mentioned something that the referee should have a play in it, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we were spitballing or something like that, I would say maybe that the referee could have to like put a signal out there saying like, warning of timidity for both fighters or something like that, and say, okay, maybe that like green lights it. I don't even know that necessarily has to be there. Like you can still have the ref. Again, I do like the idea of a referee implementing the timidity rule much more frequently anyway, and hopefully it avoids that problem.
Like if you get stood up, that's a timidity warning.
I don't know. I guess that depends. Depends on because that's officiated so irregularly, depending on the official.
Right, but I think that's almost everything. Fouls, finishes, everything is kind of.
I guess,
ref.
But you know what? There's some refs that won't do it at all, even if it's kind of a mandate. I'm sure.
I like that. But you get stuck there, you can find a way up, but also the guy on the top has to do something.
I don't know. The problem I have with that, though, is the fact that you're getting real luck of the draw stuff. And I think I'll tell you, remember when we had John Anik on our show a couple years ago? He was talking about, and he's spoken about this on other shows and other places too, that it drives him crazy, the inconsistency with officiating. And I agree. I think, look, there's a certain human element to it in the way things are going to get done, right? But for something like that, where it's actually going to start really affecting the scoring, it's like, I don't know, man. Then it gets a little tougher. So realistically, it should just be case-by-case basis. Let the referees decide that, if timidity is kind of the thing here, But yeah, it definitely needs some spitballing, some thinking here. Maybe there's something I'm missing, that maybe this isn't a good idea. I'm certainly open to that. I'm not I'm not trying to be an evangelist for this idea, but I think it's worth considering.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to be received.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You know what? If you're out there and you're listening and you have any thoughts on this idea, by all means, please DM me, tweet me, whatever. Happy to hear your feedback and either share it or keep it private. That's fine. I just, I like to kind of think about ways we can improve the sport, and maybe that is one way where, to a small degree, we can work to eliminate things like Storley Page going down the way it did, or Esparza and Namajunas number 2. We don't want fights like that. Nobody wants fights like that. So if we can find ways that avoid that, I feel like that's a good thing, right?
Do you think, this just came to me,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably a bad idea. If they gave corners a way to challenge, say something like, hey, they're not doing anything.
No, bad idea.
Yeah, okay.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is, who are you appealing to? It's the referee in the cage, right?
Right, yeah.
Now the referee has to look away from the action just to deal with what's going on there.
Well,
Even the divergence of attention, right? Because, what would it be? Like they'd call timeout?
No, not
What are you
timeout. Just saying something like they're not working. Like, do something.
I feel like they do that anyway.
I know, but I mean, like in a more of official capacity. I don't know. Throw a red towel.
Nah, I don't know. Well, you're not even legally supposed to be able to throw the towel in.
Well, that's you should be able to protect your fighter. So
I mean, well, it's good. I mean, the whole idea that you can't throw the towel in because it's illegal. I mean, you're throwing the towel in because you want the fight to stop. So if you throw in the towel and commit a foul, it's stopping the action, and then you can stop the fight. So I don't know. I always thought that was so silly.
Don't do it in California, though. You won't get paid.
That's true. Yeah. As Andy Foster outlined, the DQ is the last resort because the losing fighter in a DQ does not get paid. No contest, not the same thing.
That's crazy.
It is. It was unexpected to hear too.
Yeah.
That one took me aback. Did you have any other things, kind of takeaways from Andy's time? I know you only watched part of it, I think, right? I watched a good chunk of it. I think I had to miss part. I joined in just a little late, and then there was a point where the feed cut out on their end. I don't know if they ever got Andy back, but I had to go.
I had to step away, so that's probably where I stopped. They were talking about the typical monthly ABC Zoom call that I normally don't
semi-monthly.
Yeah, I normally don't find out about it unless it's from you. Usually, I find out about it from you.
Oh yeah, I find out about it like a day before.
Yeah,
I need a little more advance notice with these things because the last one was on a date, and it was like for date night. I was like, well, I can't do that. I would love to go, but I can't.
But when we do get a chance to sit down on them, they're good.
Yes, they're excellent. I recommend heavily, if you're a media member listening to this, especially, please reach out to CSAC, reach out to Andy Foster. Ask to be on the next call. You will learn something. Almost definitely you will learn something, because this is your one chance to get actual working judges to talk out loud about the process of scoring a round, or even potentially why they scored a round the way they did. Sometimes this can come up. It is the only chance you'll get.
Mm-hmm.
And it's highly worth your time if you intend to learn anything about the sport you cover.
Yes. All right. Moving
on. This is, once again, we don't have any live fights that we're talking about, so we decided to do some past judgment, something we haven't done in a couple months.
It's been a while.
I think it was January last time we were doing it, sir.
Okay.
Because we've had a lot of fight weekends since then. And I think the one break we did have, what was it? We did a non-fight weekend card as well. I think we were revisiting some sort of was it data, or I don't remember what it was.
Possibly.
Yeah, these things blank on me. I didn't bother looking it up ahead of time. Sorry, sue me.
I mean, the late where I pulled the next part from was a Figueiredo Marino past judgment. So I don't know when we did that one.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah. So we're doing past judgment, which for those who maybe you're a newer listener, what we do with past judgment is we look at past fights, right? We go back and we kind of rescore it. You've got the whole spiel going. Why don't you do your spiel, sir?
Yeah, the CSJ criteria, basically the same as the ABC criteria, which, as we mentioned earlier, is available at abcboxing.com. Like certified judges, we score rounds based on the 3 Ds: damage, dominance, and duration. We just made a few key changes. A 10-9 round is a competitive round in which neither fighter checks one of the 3 Ds by a large margin. A 10-8 can be considered for just 1D, but should definitely be given when 2Ds are achieved. A 10-7 is available for checking off 2Ds, but must be given for all 3. We've discarded tiebreakers for effective aggression and area control, as these are rarely used by judges anyway. The rare 10-10 would only be given in largely uneventful rounds. Basically what you were saying earlier, kind of.
Yeah.
All this helps provide for more varied scores that should more accurately reflect what happens in a fight.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we do it, obviously, and we haven't done it in a while, I guess. But hopefully you guys are interested in kind of going back and hearing some of a couple past fights that we pulled out, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this actually did come up with you over the weekend.
It did?
With Josh Gross. He was talking half points, and then you were mentioning.
Yes.
So
yes, that's right. Josh and I, the MMA president, Josh Gross, and I were discussing that in Twitter. He's a big proponent of the half point system, which we saw Nelson Hamilton kind of bring about as in a test case in California, or help bring that about. I think he borrowed it from someone else along the way. I forget who it was in exactly, but it wasn't necessarily him coming up with it all on his own, if I understand right. Everything's iterative, right? But yeah, he was kind of thinking, okay, maybe the half point system works. I think fractions are, one, unwieldy, and two, people are terrible at math. I'm good at math, but I know most people aren't. We can't add whole numbers very well all the time, so maybe we stay away from half numbers. But I think that
how would they announce it? Like Bruce Buffer always announced the weighing in at 155 and 1/2 pounds.
Yeah.
Is it 28 and 1/2 point?
Yeah, I know. It just gets so awkward, and I think it's not right for it. I would rather, if they're going to go down that path, I feel like you just add more whole numbers after 7. Right now we have 987. What if they went 98765? All the way to 4 sounds really excessive. I feel like you only need
6. Would be.
I think 9876.
Yeah.
If you are actually going to add different degrees, 9876. I feel like you can get there. 9's the really close round. 8 is the round that someone definitely won. 7 is the round that's like, okay, now it's getting pretty lopsided here, and 6 is kind of that beat down.
Yeah.
That's like the one, probably 2 out of 100 rounds is going to be that score, something like that. But at least it's achievable, unlike the 7 now, which is just useless. But anyway, that's the CSJ. Kind of getting back to it. So yeah, we are starting with Diego Sanchez and Takanori Gomi.
Yeah,
this is a fight we did not do yet, but I think I kind of was doing a little research, trying to figure out, okay, maybe some fights that we haven't done that maybe might be worth doing. This found its way onto my list because I want to say it was one of those fights where people were calling robbery back when no one does that nowadays. But I feel like back then, at least, we actually were seeing decisions that were so off base that they were potential robberies. So I said, okay, let's revisit this fight. I didn't remember it very well. This was at UFC on Fuel TV number 8. It was a main card bout under the Vanderlei Silva versus Brian Stan headliner on March 2nd, 2013 at Saitama Super Arena in Japan. Had a little bit of not a Pride feel, because it definitely looked like UFC, but it was at the Pride venue, so there was that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just score this as a whole. I think I said that during the fight. But yeah, so Sanchez, he's coming into this one. He's 23-5. Record much better than it looks now. He had missed weight at 158 pounds. This was him coming back down to lightweight after going 2-2 at 170. So he hadn't quite gotten the cut back down, right? And his most recent fight was a loss to Jake Ellenberger 13 months earlier.
That was a good fight.
Been a bit. Yeah. Diego had a lot of great fights back in the day before he fell off. He obviously fell off, and the fights suffered in quality as well. But yeah, he was appointment viewing for quite a while. Gomi, he's 34-8. He had won 2 straight coming in, the latest being a fight of the night decision victory over Mac Danzig 4 months before.
That's a name.
Mac Danzig, yeah. I know. It's like, that's why I kind of like Past Judgment, especially because we get to go back to all these fights with like guys that we were watching, kind of when we got into the sport.
Yeah.
It's like, look at that name. That's fun. Everyone loves nostalgia. The judges for this one are Ben Cartledge, Barry Foley, and Chris Watts, and the referee is Mark Goddard.
Ben Carlich's been at this for a long time. Huh?
Yes, he has. Yeah. This was early in his judging career, if I understand right. But yeah, so round 1, Dan, what is happening in round 1?
Well, Diego seems to be pacing himself. He's allowing Gomi, to take the lead pretty much. Gomi's landing some pretty good strikes on the feet. I think Diego's coming up short on all of his arm punches, not arm punches, on his punches.
That came from his arm.
Yeah, his kicks are landing, but I mean, there's nothing.
Are they leg kicks?
They are like no. A leg kick is attacking the leg.
I know. I'm teasing.
Mostly body kicks he's throwing. Not too many of them. I think his best work is when he does get a takedown. He's on the ground. He lands a couple good shots from the top, but Takanori Gomi's able to get back up pretty quick. Later in the round, he gets another takedown and attacks a pretty good knee bar briefly, but Gomi escapes. He's back on. I think Gomi's landing better shots on the feet, working the head and the body really well. I like it for Gomi 10-9.
I also like it for Gomi 10-9. Yeah, honestly, I thought this was a reasonably competitive round.
Yeah.
To be honest. I mean, we've seen rounds where Diego gets the call because he's just kind of, it looks like anyway, he's just pushing forward and he's more aggressive and he's winging all these crazy punches that aren't landing, but maybe in the confusion it looks like he's getting it done. I don't think that was the case here.
No.
This seemed like a pretty reasonably close round, and it just happened to go Gomi's way in my mind and in your mind and in the mind of Ben Cartledge. He was the lone judge who saw it for Gomi, so Foley and Watts had this one for Sanchez. But yeah, I mean, this is actually the round that everybody was that really decided the winner, right? But I don't see this as any sort of even remotely close to a robbery round.
I don't think it's a robbery round.
I don't think so at all. So this already gets debunked, I think. But we can at least look at rounds 2 and 3 as, hey, maybe our CSJ criteria changes them, right? So what happens in round 2?
I think it's a very close round 2.
Mm-hmm.
Gomi landed really good early, and Diego landed good body kicks, and he landed some good punches in the second half of the round. You'll see Gomi, he gets backed up, he just completely resets. He has Diego pressed against the cage, gets hit with a shot, backs off completely, gets back into the center of the cage. I think that's indication, these are good impact shots that are landing. I do think Gomi did have good lands throughout. It's really close. I can see a case for Gomi, but I'm on Sanchez 10-9.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I think that this realistically, this is probably why everybody's all bent out of shape over this fight, because this is a round that, even though it went all to Sanchez, you can kind of see why, hey, maybe Gomi was at least in this one, and that maybe by, like I said, kind of that pride scoring. If you look at this fight, as I think we'll find in round 3 as well, if you look at this fight as a whole, it really does seem like Takanori Gomi was the more successful fighter in essentially winning the fight, right? But that's not how we do things. Pride died. Pride never died, but it died. It was not alive for this fight. They were using the Western scoring, the MMA scoring from North America, and as a result, you have round by round, and this happened to be a close round that all 3 judges saw for Diego Sanchez. I did too, but like I said, I can kind of see the other way as well. It just, I think there's nothing wrong with all 3 going for Sanchez here. So, Cartledge actually has this tied now, 19 apiece. It's Foley and Watts who have it 20-18 for Sanchez, meaning, of course, Gomi really does need a finish at this point. If he had open scoring, he would know that.
He would.
Just saying. I mean, there's no debating that aspect.
It's funny because Diego starts the round like he needs the finish.
Yes, he does. He runs super fast. He sprints out and then he just stops, and it's like, okay, why'd you waste the energy? That's Diego. That's Diego for you. But yeah, so round 3. What else is happening after he does his little sprint thing?
Well, I think this round is probably a round that can show, I guess, a flaw in our system a little bit, because there's only
how dare you?
There's only one way to score this round.
Okay.
But there's no D's checked in this round. So it's just going to be 10-9 Gomi. He outboxes him the whole round. Sanchez really not able to get much off at all. A couple body kicks, but that's it. Nothing. And then when the clacker goes off, Diego turns into the Diego of old and just starts winging.
Just goes crazy for 10 seconds, yeah.
But yeah, I don't see a way you could score this one for Sanchez, but I also don't see a way you can go 10-8 for Gomi. So it's just a 10-9.
It's not a flaw in our system. It's just what it is. It's just a 9.
I know, but we kind of push to the point where if you can only go one way, we kind of lean towards 8 typically.
We don't Yeah, but that's not how we
Because-
really have put it in practice, right? I would be okay with exploring that as a potential way to do it, but I don't think that's typically how we've been doing things in couchside judges scoring system.
No, but I think that's like the way we like it.
I think, well, this is kind of where I'm talking about, where if you actually had, 9/8, let's just, say, for example, you had 9/8, 7/6 available, right?
Mm-hmm.
This would be a 9. But excuse me, not that this would be a 9. Round 2 would probably be a 9.
Right.
And that this would be an 8. And then, of course, you're still not meeting that kind of, hey, this is a kind of a lopsided round at this point. It's just a close, clear, then it starts to get kind of lopsided after that.
Mm-hmm.
This is, it's just a clear round for Gomi, but that makes it a 9 in our
Right.
system.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's a flaw.
I kind of think it is a little bit.
So what do you want? Do you want
I
4
don't-
numbers? Is
I
that
don't.
what you're
No,
saying?
I don't want 4 numbers.
You want 7 numbers?
I just say
10-1 Diego.
there's no D's. That's it. That's where I'm at.
All right.
Because when we announced the 10-9, it's a competitive round where no fighter checks off a D.
Sure.
This wasn't competitive.
Yeah, but it
So-
also what's an 8?
Exactly. Yeah.
What is an 8 in our system?
It's you can do it 1D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah,
don't have
that's
it,
true.
then I think we've covered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think
Fair
we're
enough.
good. Yeah. Well, that was a useless thing where we just taught Dan how our system works.
I guess it all comes together.
It's all right. That's all right, brother.
But what I was gonna say is I can see 30-27 Gomi a lot easier, or I can see a case for that.
You can
in
get
this. So I
you can
think
get to 37 or 30-27 for Gomi probably
issue,
easier
yeah.
than you can get to 29-28 for Sanchez. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah.
But you can get to both.
Yes, you can get to both, but I think that's probably where the robbery talk is coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah,
so.
but that's always the way it is,
Yeah.
It's because people really want to see it through the way that they would like to see it, right? That they almost feel like that the number of rounds earned should be commensurate to how their overall performance worked. Like if they had like a dominant fight, it should be 30-27. But if it for some reason was a super close fight with all 3 rounds going one way, that makes no sense. It should just be a 29-28, or it should be a split decision. Because it was a close fight, one of those judges should have seen it the other way. But that's not how it works.
Right.
That's just how people who don't understand how it works would like to see it work.
Mhm.
And even that doesn't make sense. Like, what's the point? If you want something that reflects what happened in the fight, it's not that it becomes a split decision. You should be calling for more varied number scores, like we're talking about. That's the fix. And that's the problem is in a lot of the conversations in mixed martial arts, especially around judging, is people they want the wrong thing. They get really passionate. They want something, but it's always the wrong thing. It just direct your energies better. Like if you're mad about scoring because the judges are applying, things in the criteria that don't really line up with what you think they ought to be, is that the judge's fault for doing what he's told, or is it the commission and the committees that come up with the rules fault for providing them with faulty language to work with, or language that doesn't match what your idea is even of what should win a round?
Yeah, your issues with the criteria.
Your issues with the criteria, your issues with maybe the people offering directives in how to apply the criteria and that kind of thing, pointing in one direction or another. When we watch the NFL, right? You and I, when we watch football on Sundays, and there's like the definition of the catch, right? We've been trying to figure out what a catch is for 25 years.
Versus no catch needs to just stop already.
I don't want to go too tangential with that.
That's got to stop.
I don't want to go too tangential with that. My point of bringing that up is the fact that, do we get mad at the one referee who called that, or do we get mad at the fact that that is the rule and they're forced to work with it? I think most of us tend to complain about the rule. We throw our hands up at the rule.
Yeah, this is a dumb rule.
We're not mad at Ed Hockley necessarily, or Jerome Boger.
Well, you shouldn't get mad at Ed Hockley because he'll pop your head off.
He probably
those
would.
biceps.
He probably would. That's true. Although he seems like a man who's probably got it under control. So I think he's probably okay. But again, that is my point, though. And that's why I didn't bring up baseball, because you will get mad at the umpire.
Because there's so much subjectivity with a strike zone
I
when
know.
there shouldn't be. It's a strike zone.
I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have brought it up. I knew it would
yeah.
trigger you. You are definitely
Angel
triggered.
Hernandez, how that man is still umpiring is crazy. He's got the biggest strike zone and the smallest strike zone for somehow. It's the most inconsistent strike zone I've ever seen. Back to fighting.
Once I opened the can of worms of baseball, I knew Angel Hernandez's name was coming. I pretty much almost designed that.
Oh.
But yeah, so that's my point though, is that we in one sport we call about the rule, and in another sport we call about the officials that are forced to utilize that rule. Football, not baseball. So that's the thing. I think we need to start understanding what conversations we really want to be having to get things changed. If you're just sitting there saying judging is broken, the judges are terrible, the judges aren't scoring the fight the way I think they ought to be, it's like, well, they're doing their job. From the athletic commission standpoint, they're doing everything correct.
I hear Dominic Cruz is holding a support group for everyone who believes that.
Oh boy, it's not at the Monster Energy drink guy's house though. That's not where he wants to have it. Well, anyway, this round going all the way back to Gomi and Sanchez. Round 3, we both saw it for Gomi. Our scores both ended up being 29-28. That was the score that Ben Cartledge had because all 3 judges had this 10-9 for Gomi, except unfortunately, like we mentioned, it was too late for Gomi because, unbeknownst to him, he had already locked up essentially a loss without a finish or some sort of 10-8. So Foley and Watts had the 29-28 Sanchez scores.
All right.
Not a robbery. Not a robbery. Is this a situation where maybe the scoring criteria wasn't nuanced enough to be able to give Gomi a victory?
It was in 2013,
yeah,
so
it probably wasn't then. I mean, it's probably the same thing happens now. I don't think the same thing happens. You're left at the mercy of how'd you score round 1, which was close.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's why I think, ultimately we want more accuracy in the numbers. I don't think fractions works, but maybe there is some room for maybe going all the way to the 6. I think we'll keep our scoring system as it is, but it's worth thinking about. I think no options should really be ruled out until we figure out that it's actually stupid, not out of pocket, but because we've thought it through. The sport's too young. Let's figure things out. But that's it for this fight. We do have one more past judgment fight, the main event, the championship fight of the evening. We went all the way back, way back, 16 years ago back. Rich Franklin against the Crow, David Loiseau.
The Wayback Machine.
Way back in the Wayback Machine, that's right, with Peabody and Sherman. Love me some Rocky and Bullwinkle. But yeah, this was the headliner of UFC 58.
USA versus Canada, right?
USA versus Canada. That's right. Rich Franklin of the United States, David Loiseau of Canada, with a very young Faraz Sahabi in his corner who planted a little kiss on his cheek during the fight, which we don't have to get into it, but I guess it surprised me.
Are we sure that's not what swelled his eye?
I thought that was there as a healing mechanism. Because when my kids have a boo-boo, I give them a kiss. I read it the other way.
Okay.
Anyway, UFC 58, middleweight title fight, of course, March 4th, 2006. So almost exactly 7 years before the previous fight we just did, interestingly enough. This first week of March has actually always been a very big fight weekend, I feel like, for UFC. And we've done a lot of fights from this particular weekend for one reason or another. But this was at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, not in Japan. Franklin was 22-1. He was the champion, making his second title defense after knocking out Nate Quarry in about half a round 4 months earlier. That was a crazy knockout.
Oh, yeah.
He's just flattened.
Yeah, that was a starch.
Nate Quarry, yeah. Loiseau, he's 14-4. He got here because he won a TKO by Dr. Stoppage. I can't help it. Whenever I see Dr. Stoppage now, I only hear Conor McGregor. Yeah. Dr. Stoppage. I can't do the brogue, though. But the TKO victory came over Evan Tanner, the former champion, who Rich Franklin had taken the belt off of. And that fight was 5 months earlier to earn him this title shot. Judges for this one are Nelson Hamilton, Nevada's current executive director of the commission, Jeff Mullen, and Dalby Shirley, who I'm not as familiar with, but at this point in the UFC broadcast, they were showing the mugshots, the pictures of all 3 judges, and Dalby Shirley looked like one of the more advanced age judges that I'd seen. That was interesting. Referee for this one is John McCarthy.
Young John
McCarthy. Big John McCarthy, but also young Big John McCarthy. Yeah. And unfortunately, this being an older fight, we didn't usually have round-by-round breakdowns in these, so we don't know the individual scores, but I can say this. Rich Franklin won every round, so we'll spare you that much. We don't have to talk about every round, who won. We're really, in this whole fight, we're just assessing degrees of victory. This is what we're trying to figure out.
Yes.
So round 1, how big does Rich Franklin win?
Well, yeah, it's all Franklin, but I think it's borderline 10-8 because Franklin, he attacked the whole time, but he didn't really get damage down, and it was very intermittent attacks, and then he knocks him down basically at the bell, and that's what pushed it over for me to a 10-8.
How much did you kind of assess that that knockdown? Because yes, he knocks him down, but I think really we're not looking at just that, he knocked him down. It's not boxing. It's how much was he hurt? Do you think that he was reasonably hurt by it, or is it kind of like the cumulative action of everything with that
I think he was definitely... I was borderline before it, mainly because Loiseau's not doing anything.
He's doing a lot of backing away.
He is doing a lot of running. Legit.
Not quite Caleb Starnes, although I think Caleb Starnes was also Canadian. So there was something about middleweights from Canada in the mid to late 2000s that for some reason they just didn't want to engage.
It was more or less I needed just a little more from Franklin, and that final strike helped me get there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely at least high impact here, even if you didn't have him like truly rocked. I think, yeah, for me, it was more that it was kind of like the cumulative effect of, it put me over the top with that last one. I don't know that I would have given the 8 otherwise, but I, like you, did give this one a Rich Franklin 10-8 in our CSJ system. Round 2. What are we talking about here?
Franklin clips him and wobbles him with a left right off the bat, and then he backs him all the way to the cage, drops him with another punch, heavy ground and pound. Throughout the round, he patiently whacks him with strikes pretty much. He's not really pushing hard for a finish, but he is picking him apart pretty good on the feet. Final 30 seconds, he slams him, takes the turtle position, just starts landing some ground and pound. Loiseau did next to nothing in this round, so 10-7 Franklin.
Yeah, I think the question I asked myself too while Franklin is dishing out one-way traffic is, did David Loiseau do enough to avoid taking on only a 7? I don't think he did.
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did. I feel like there is too much one-way traffic here, and I do think you've got some higher impact scenarios, higher impact moments in this round. It's not the biggest of 10-7s for our system, but I think it meets it.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm also on the 7, and so that puts both of our cumulative scores through 2 rounds at 20-15. Rich Franklin.
It's like the NBA playoffs, a lot of blowouts so far.
I mean, not that this is an insurmountable lead at this point in the fight. There's still 3 more rounds. You get 3 10-8s in a row, which is entirely achievable in our system.
It is.
He can come back and win. We already know he doesn't because all these are Franklin rounds. But yeah, what's going on in round 3?
I suppose this is the most interesting round. I
Yeah.
guess. A good start from Franklin. He gets a big slam, takes the back, lands some ground and pound, but more so he's looking for a choke, I think. He's not really throwing that many punches. Fight gets stopped as they get to their feet, so Big John can check on, as Joe Rogan put it, the eye hanging off of David Loiseau's face.
Like a zombie. Like his whole form was just decrepit and falling apart. But not really.
Doctor's like, no, he's good. We can go. So as soon as they reset, Loiseau lands a big left hook. He has Franklin hurt pretty good. Follows him to the ground. He landed some good punches, but they get to the feet. Franklin recovers, and he kind of just takes over from there a little bit. He hurts Loiseau a couple times and just hits him with shots while Loiseau's not really doing anything in return. I think Franklin steals it back 10-9.
I do too, but I'll tell you, I was really torn in not going against the grain and giving this one to Loiseau. I don't think he hurt him that much. Is really where I kind of backed away from.
I thought he had him hurt pretty good.
I think he did, but ultimately it wasn't enough that he couldn't have given off that lead. Because obviously you want to weigh the immediate impact, right? That's supposed to weigh more in criteria that we're looking at in modern times. This was different then. It was not defined necessarily the same way. So it's a little tougher for me to say how it ought to be for a fight that happened 16 years ago, right?
Well, the thing is, Franklin, it does still hit him with some good shots.
He does.
At the end, and Loiseau did what he did the first 2 rounds and not do anything for that period of the round.
And ultimately, that's why I still ended up seeing it the same way as you. I didn't go the other way, but I'll tell you, it was tough. It was close. I feel like this was a really competitive round.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
So yeah, no, at the very least now we've got a David Loiseau who is not continually getting blown out of rounds. He's down 30-24 because we both have 10-9 for Franklin here. We both have the same card. So now what we're looking at, though, is he needs 10-7s in the last 2 rounds. It's not really achievable. So he's really in what would be finish mode if, one, our scores actually counted for anything, and 2, they actually used our scoring system.
Yeah.
So what's going on in round 4? And bear in mind, too, we don't know. I would have to think at least round 2 was a 10-8 by all those judges.
Well, Eddie Bravo gave it a 10-8 when they did those live scoring
He
things.
did. Not that his score mattered either, but we know that this fight does contain some 10-8s from the judges. So I think this a good chance that round 2 was one of them. I would say round 3 most definitely wasn't.
No, it couldn't be.
But what's going on in round 4? Now we get in the championship rounds.
Yeah, it's pretty much all Franklin again. He gets Loiseau down on a slip. But he's down there and he takes the back, lands some solid ground and pound for a while. Franklin lands this crazy suplex where we both yelled pretty much after watching it because we thought it was awesome.
Crazy suplexes are always fun in MMA.
Yeah. On the feet, Franklin's landing really whatever he wants, and Loiseau's not doing much of anything again. But Loiseau isn't really hurt much in this round. I think Franklin could have pushed harder, and I'm just on a 10-8. Franklin, one-way traffic.
Yeah, same thing here. I think this is pretty solidly an 8 in our system. I don't think it wasn't like a borderline case either way. I think this is kind of like that middle ground that we're looking for our 10-8s. So I felt good with that one. And obviously that doesn't put Loiseau in a very good situation. He's down 40-32 in our system. And I do feel like this is, again, we've created a system where David Loiseau, he just can't win except for a finish over these last 2 rounds. And I think that's okay because he's already dug himself such a deep hole. This score reflects what we're watching.
Oh, yeah.
We're watching a fight that is way out of control. We have a fighter in David Loiseau who's done a lot of, it was timid. The actions were that of timidity, and when they're not, he's getting lit up. So you can see why he would be a little more timid about engaging, right? Because he's not liking what he's getting back. But yeah, 40-32. I think through round 4, you look at this fight and you say 40-32, and you're like, yeah, that actually adds up.
Yeah, and Loiseau's face is an absolute mess right now.
It doesn't look great. It doesn't look great at all. Round 5, though. What do we have here?
Yeah, Loiseau actually started this round pretty good. Landed a couple body kicks. I think he lands an elbow that had Franklin, I guess, worried that he might be cut. Right, he checks his head. But after that, it's all Franklin. He gets an easy takedown, probably the easiest takedown. Very low impact, but just so easy. And just overwhelms him there with his grappling domination. Good ground and pound for the next, 3.5 minutes. It's all Franklin. Solid impact. Pretty much the duration of the round. I think it's all 3Ds, 10-7.
I only went for the 8 here, and I don't know if you think I'm off base or not, but I just didn't quite think it got to the same level that we were seeing in like round 2, where that was another 10-7 in our system. I don't know why. I guess I wanted some more. Maybe I wanted more immediate impact, and maybe I just didn't quite think it got there. But I had no problem with you going for the 7.
I guess.
I think it's more borderline.
I guess he doesn't land anything of crazy impact really.
Right.
But he is hitting them with good shots enough.
Yeah, I think the cumulative effect certainly can get there. And that's why, when you say a 7, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But I don't know. I guess it just didn't quite do it for my understanding of our admittedly amorphous kind of system,
Okay.
There's room for this. This is very unofficial. This is more of an exercise than anything, right? Hopefully some entertainment value.
Yeah, so I think he gets domination pretty easily here. As, Loiseau's just completely defensive in every transition. Completely overwhelmed.
Of course.
And it for a long period of the round,
So this is really the only round we diverged on. I mean, does an 8 pass muster for you? You think?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah, because like you said, the damage is probably the most suspect D of the 3.
Right
there,
which is, as we know, at least by the way modern judging works, that's the one that they view to be the most important one too.
Yeah.
So now this is our system. We can do what the heck we want.
But it isn't written in there yet. So.
That's right. That's a good point. That is a good point. Although again, this gets brought up sometimes. It's like, oh, they're misapplying the criteria because of the mandates. It's still within the criteria because we're only talking about can consider. If you don't have, if there's all 3Ds there, they're given the 8.
Right.
If there's not all 3Ds, then that's where it's kind of can go either way. So a mandate could say, yes, we want to see more of that, or no, we don't. And it still matches the criteria. Nobody's doing anything wrong or, illicit or anything like that. It's more what the commissions want to see. I disagree very strongly with it. I don't want to sit here and be, defending that that's what we get, but they are within the language of the rules okay to do it.
Yeah.
Like it or not. But yeah, so I have, like I said, this was an 8 for me. So my final score is 50-40 for Rich Franklin. You had 50-39.
Yep.
So I believe that ended up tying the scores that we gave out for Khabib against Al Iaquinta.
Okay.
Which was our previous most lopsided scorecard in the CSJ system. And in terms of when we kind of came up with, let's say, the most modernly defined one and the best understanding of how judging really works, right? There's a few fights that I think we probably could go back to. Tyron Woodley, when he lost to Kamaru Usman. I think that'd be interesting to kind of go back and say, okay, where does that one sit? If we're trying to establish kind of like the extreme base of how lopsided scores can get in CSJ.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a 50-35.
I can't imagine there would be. That'd be something, but maybe there's a 38 out there. I don't know. That's why I picked this fight. I thought this would be interesting to see if we could get there.
Yep.
Didn't quite, but I mean, for you, I guess it did. The actual scorecards, the ones that really mattered, Doc Hamilton and Jeff Mullen had this as 50-43 for Franklin. It was Shirley who had a 50-42. Apparently you can call him Shirley.
Okay.
He's one of those. But yeah, so 50-42, that means he gave out, presumably he gave out 3 10-8s and not a 10-7 along the way somewhere. I don't know that, but I'm going to extrapolate that he gave 3 8s. So what do you think are like rank the rounds as far as what are the most likely that you think to have gotten 8s?
2, 4, 5.
In that order?
Yeah.
I mean, not 2, 5, 4?
Oh, and what order of likelihood?
Yeah.
2, probably 2, 5, 4. I think 2 is top, so.
Yeah. I think 2 is easily the one. That's a definite one. Maybe round 1. I don't know. It could be round 1 instead of round 4.
Maybe.
But probably round 5 was the second one. Yeah, I would think so too. But yeah, it'd be interesting to find that score one day. Maybe Nevada has it. You know who's in charge of Nevada? One of the judges who was on that fight. I bet you he'd know. There's a decent chance he would know. Although he judged a lot of fights and he's got a lot of things on his plate, so who knows? That is it though for our 2-pronged past judgment. I liked going back to this. I like the past judgment. It's just tough to work it back into the weekly show at this point.
Yeah, we've had so much to talk about.
We should look into maybe putting up some of the past judgments on YouTube. Even just the individual past judgment part.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
We could look into that. Maybe we'll spitball it. I've got some ideas, I guess. Yeah, that's it. Let's move on to, right before we kind of close out here, let's look ahead to this coming weekend with UFC Vegas 56.
The LT event.
With the headline, the Lawrence Taylor event, yeah. Although, without the baggage.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, Jairzinho Rozenstruik is going against Alexander Volkov at a heavyweight headliner, which I want to say it was Caposa. I think I even said this last week, but I want to say Caposa was the one who said that, yeah, it feels like they've done this fight as a headliner like 2 other times before. Because it kind of does feel like these are just like we have no headliner, so let's just throw in one of these guys against somebody at heavyweight. And that should work. People like heavyweights until they watch them.
Well, they like them in the first round, and then
they do.
It gets less interesting.
Yeah.
The longer it goes. So.
Yeah, Rozenstruik's kind of weird because he's got some interesting finishes, right? But he's also had a lot of fights where there's not a lot of engagement going on. It's very much a bland heavyweight fight.
Yeah.
It's not because he's tired. It's because it's just the patience, the counter striking. It's not really working.
I could see this being that fight.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about this one.
Volkov's length may just give him fits.
Yeah.
And I think Volkov decision here if I had to bet on it.
Okay. I could see that. I'm not making picks anymore. I'm gonna leave
That's
that
right.
to you.
Scott is no longer a picker.
I'm off the picks. Sometimes I'll go on, podcasts or be requested to do something for like, Warner Media picking with a fight, and maybe I'll do that for some fights. But if I can avoid it, I'd rather do that. I don't want to pick.
This is also like 12 days before the fight card.
What are you talking about? This is.
Oh yeah.
This is 5 days before the fight, sir.
Okay, yeah. My
so
bad.
obviously,
which is still a long time because the fight card could change it.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, that's right. And we would probably have to re-record this at some point so you would never hear this. If you're listening to me talking about this, then you got the fight that we were asking for, at least as of Monday and Memorial Day. Judges, of course, will be the typical Nevada judges, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Sal D'Amato, Derek Cleary, Mike Bell, Junichiro Kamijo, all these folks, I'm sure we'll see.
Wonder if they're maybe the holiday weekend they got plans.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see some.
Yeah, their plan is go to Vegas.
That is always a good plan. I can never fault that plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. You made a great point there.
I'm pretty sure I appealed to your sensibilities.
Yeah.
Any other fights you're interested in on this one? Because obviously the headliner's not the most attractive, so you probably need something else to get your juices flowing.
I like Dan Ige versus Movsar Evloev.
Okay,
interesting fight there. I think Evloev's undefeated.
Evloev's earned this fight, absolutely.
Yeah, Ige's coming off 2 losses, so it's kind of put up or shut up. I think
it is. Bit, yeah, so. This is his like kind of gotta. Not that he's had bad losses, but it's very tough to justify in a very tough division like featherweight, that if you're not going to be winning these fights, you're going to get passed by.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm interested in that one. I feel like this one's destined to go 3 rounds. That one feels right. I'm not making an actual fight pick as far as the winner, but it certainly looks to me like it's neither one of these guys is going to be able to get the other one out.
Yeah, this will be a interesting one.
That's how I feel. I'm also interested in who I spoke to for last week's Q&A with the New York Post, the post-fight interview. Aaron Blanchfield going against J.J. Aldrich at flyweight.
Yeah, I like this fight. They're both. I read your article, your Q&A.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
I did, and I agree with Blanchfield saying they're both two on the cusp of the top 15. Mm-hmm. Whoever wins probably breaks through. So.
Fun fact, Aaron Blanchfield went to high school in the town where I live right now.
Okay.
And during the time where I lived there and we had just moved here and everything. So
okay.
I probably could have walked past her at some point when her and a bunch of the kids were coming out of school. And sure enough, now I'm writing about her and we're watching a fight. It's a strange world. And I'm just old is really what it is. It's what it is. I'm just getting old now.
Little hometown bias there. There you go.
No, certainly not. I mean, I enjoyed the time to speak with her. I love my Jersey folks. I love Jersey. But having said that, it's my job to stay as impartial as I can. So, I'm interested in this fight. I think Aldrich is a very tough woman. Her record, I think, would surprise a lot of people because I feel like she's someone who's like very, knows the grindstone type of career. But then you look at her record, she's 11-4 overall, but she's 7-3 in the UFC.
That's pretty good.
That's a good record for the UFC, especially among women. I think there haven't been as many that have compiled that type of record. We're seeing more of them now. We've had some women who've been in here almost 10 years.
Yeah, I think she could. I mean, there's probably a case to be made that she won the Benzo fight too.
Yeah,
that was a split.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
That was in our proto stage of this show. That was a fight that we were talking about.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I probably had stronger feelings then.
You were very mad. Yep. And it was with a certain judge. We don't even have to mention names. I think people can figure it out, but we'll spare that just because there's no need to do that right now. I think we're better educated than we used to be.
I was just checking her record to see if she had a Hannah Cyphers fight or not. Seemed like everyone beat up on Hannah Cyphers at some point.
A lot of people
during the pandemic.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I feel like Hannah Cyphers is still a talented fighter. There's a giant hole in her game. And just about everybody can take advantage of it, and that's unfortunate. But it is what it is. There's a meritocracy once you get in there. But that is it. Yeah, I don't have anything else that I'm super interested for this card as well.
I think Felice Herrig is fighting on the card now. I was kind of shocked to see that. It's like she still fights. Interesting.
Yeah, you don't hear much about Felice Herrig anymore. That is true.
So all right,
that's about it for this one, right?
I think that's it.
I'm much more excited, obviously, for the pay-per-view the following week, but.
Yeah,
we will talk about that later.
This is kind of like a vegetable platter appetizer
Yeah.
of a card, really.
Now, obviously, we're in the middle of this is Memorial Day when this episode comes out, but we're recording ahead of time. Did you have any Memorial Day plans coming into the weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to CFFC Friday.
Right.
Or I
okay, you
went on
mentioned
Friday.
that. Yes.
And then
Well, we assume you did. Maybe you didn't. Maybe there was a snowstorm
Saturday,
in May.
barbecue and pool.
Okay.
Sunday, nothing. I don't know. There's a parade in town.
Go to the parade.
So parades are pretty cool.
I love parades. I really
Yeah.
don't. I actually really don't. I'm like kind of anti-parade.
Okay.
They're so boring. They're so boring. It's just watching a bunch of things go by at slow speed.
Yeah, I feel that, yeah.
You know what would be a cool parade? Like a high-speed one.
Zoom.
And I'm not saying people and everything, but like just have like a bunch of race cars drive by. Or like even just go to Englishtown and watch the drag racing there.
Okay.
How about that's my parade?
All right.
Just watch them for 10 seconds at a time.
All right. Fair enough.
I like that.
That does it for this episode of the Couchside Judges. Please enjoy Memorial Day. Remember why we celebrate.
Do not forget the veterans who fought in wars and lost their lives for this country and for fighting things like fascism and terribleness around the world.
Correct.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.